Up next on Profiles in Caring, a return trip to Cambodia to see what these humanitarians have been doing with some new funding and new projects, and we end up in the middle of a typhoon. Profiles in Caring is next. Welcome to Profiles in Caring. I'm Kimberly Perkins, and today we're returning to one of our favorite developing countries, the beautiful and haunting area of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. My colleague Randall Carlisle starts us off now on what turns out to be quite an adventure.
Thanks, Kimberly. There are approximately 2,000 ancient temples here in Cambodia, and this rather famous one, Ta Prohm, if you watch the movie, is rather symbolic of what has happened in this country. The ravages of time and trouble, both politically and economically, have left much of it in ruins. But a U.S.-Cambodian partnership has steadily been making progress. As they like to say, they're bringing light out of the darkness.
This is Cambodia today. Most of the people here live a simple life, selling fruits in the local market, farming in their rice paddies, or creating souvenirs for the millions of tourists who come here every year to look in awe at the majestic temples of Angkor Wat. To an outsider, it seems as if Cambodia is a perfect tourist destination. But hidden behind the excitement of riding in a tuk-tuk, taking a boat ride through the countryside canals, or scaling the stairs of these ancient temples is a struggling Cambodia. Still trying to recover from a dark and tragic past. Right outside the walls of these temples, the face of poverty is unavoidable. Like this young child with a fishing line, desperate for food. And another boy searching through the garbage cans for discarded water bottles. This poverty is the after effect of a war that happened over 30 years ago that left Cambodia in ruins, physically and intellectually. In 1975, Cambodia was enveloped in a horrific genocidal campaign led by Pol Pot that resulted in the massacre of over 2 million Cambodians. The Khmer Rouge, an angry peasant army, set out to cleanse Cambodia of what they considered the threat.
During the genocide, the victims of the genocide were the educated people of the country. So, in that generation, that all disappeared.
Among those rounded up to be killed was PonHeary's father, a teacher. PonHeary Lee will never forget arriving at the detention camp.
And when I arrived there, my mom told me that I was too late to see my father for his last life.
In 1979, the Khmer Rouge was overthrown, but this war left Cambodia crippled without an entire generation of teachers, educators, doctors, or engineers.
All of the people that did have an education are gone. So not only do the ones who are surviving not have an education, but there's no one to give it to them. So that's a no-win situation there. They need to learn how to do things all over again as a society, starting over.
PonHeary was a part of that society determined to rebuild her country. Like her father, she became a teacher, but soon discovered that the classrooms were practically empty of pupils. The few students who did attend were the wealthier children whose parents could afford the few dollars it cost to cover the expenses of the school uniforms and supplies. And PonHeary, who wasn't making enough as a teacher to survive, also had to take on secondary jobs, becoming a tour guide at the temples of Angkor Wat.
Put the stone on each other and then smooth the stone in place. So they finish the building first before made the carving.
Where daily hundreds of children were not in school, but outside alone. Inspired by the compassion of the tourists who were freely giving money to help the beggar children, PonHeary thought, if instead of giving money blindly to these children, what if she could get the tourists to donate money to help the children go to school?
I was just here as a tourist, came to see the temples at Angkor Wat. I hired PonHeary to be my tour guide to take me through the temples. And she herself was just sort of quietly by herself sponsoring children into school and asked me if I would help her do that.
Did she go to school?
She never go to school, never. She want to send the children to school because want her children to have the good knowledge.
He needs to go to school and learn how to do something so that he can take care of this whole family when he's an adult.
Does Mom think if she had an education, their life would be better than it is today?
She think that if she could have a good education, she could have better life, but nothing to resolve the problem because she's poor. She cannot work for feeding them.
When you visit these people's houses and they say thank you to you, how does that make you feel?
For me, I feel sad. The word thank you is a nice word, but what I need, I want to see them improve themselves better than thank you. If they show the knowledge in their brain, this is what they pay to us back. We don't want their money, but what we want, their good job to please us, to give our heart happy. When I see like this, I feel very sad. But when I see the next result, that one make me very happy, like the heaven. My heaven when I see them got a good job.
I thought, wow, she's really doing some great work there. And if she was properly funded, she could do some really great work there. And I was sitting in America thinking, I really wish I could go to Cambodia and just stay there. And that voice would not stop. And then one day, I guess I just woke up and thought, well, why can't I? And there really wasn't any my other side of my brain would give me all the reasons why I couldn't. But then this one voice was, but you should. And eventually that voice got loud enough and these voices got quiet enough that I did.
Welcome back to Cambodia, where two women, one American, one Cambodian, are helping to educate nearly 2,000 children. But they can't do it without a lot of help and a lot of heart.
These Cambodian children are the fortunate minority because they have the chance to get an education. But just outside these walls are the majority.
The kids aren't at the school because they have to wear uniforms to school, so the parents have to buy those. They have to bring their own books and pencils and, school supplies. It would cost the parents about $12 to $15 a year to equip one of their children to go to school. So you're asking somebody to give up 2 months' salary, basically, to educate their children, and they just can't do it. They just can't do it. If there's 30 kids in the village going to school, because their parents can afford to send them, and then suddenly there's 400 children at the school, that's good for that village. That's a big shift.
What originally started with PonHeary personally sponsoring a handful of children to go to school has now grown into an international organization which is helping thousands of impoverished Cambodian children receive an education. They are working in many primary schools serving thousands of children and even have a computer lab at one where afternoons and weekends are filled with young students eager to connect with each other and the rest of the world.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher computer.
We had to build this building last year, and then this building we just finished about 3 weeks ago. After the school was sort of established, kids started just sort of showing up that had been to school before and wanted to finish. We had heard that there was a school there. It had only been there for a year. The people in Kokay are desperately poor. That area is very heavily mined, a lot of landmines in the countryside there, and it's part of what keeps the people from being able to work. There's a barbed wire fence around the school. All the children know they can't go outside that fence. There's a small little path that goes from the school to the village, but everything else around it is mined. And there was about 30 children at the school, 2 teachers at the school, and we noticed that they were all really sick. They all had really high fevers. A lot of them were delirious, couldn't make eye contact with you. They're all the time hungry, they're all the time sick, they've got no clean water. A lot of problems contributing to their immune system failure to make them so ill. In between the time that we arrived there and we got all the medicine gathered up and everything trying to get them well, actually 3 children died. The first 5 days of class, the children were laying on their desks with IVs hanging on the rafters. First 5 days of class, everybody had to get whatever medicine they needed to get well. They came around though very quickly, and now they're doing very well. We have to run the school all year round. If we break for the summer, they get sick again. So it's important for them to eat at school every day. It may be the only meal they get that day. We had 4 children that could be in the 6th grade, and they're the first graduates at that school ever, and the first children from that village to ever go to secondary school.
A new school season is just starting, and if you want to see the excitement, we're going to give you a front row seat. We'll show you more in just a few minutes. Hello again from the Siem Reap area of Cambodia, known for its vast temples. But we found 2 humanitarians who would like to see this area renowned for something more. Their program provides a roadmap for bringing an impoverished area out of the darkness and into the light.
They ended up because they don't have the education, they cannot read, they cannot write. If they have something like the problem, they don't know how to resolve the problem. That one in the dark, in the darkness. The education is a new thing for them, and the education is the candle. We light it. Now we light the candle in the countryside.
Today marks the first day of school and also the day that PonHeary and her teams of volunteers will distribute the necessary supplies and uniforms to over 2,000 children sponsored by their organization. However, today is also the day the Typhoon Ketsana hit landfall in Cambodia.
If it's not raining, we are going to load the bicycles in the truck and then load all the supplies in the truck and uniforms on the truck. And then to the school, the whole family will go also to have to cook for 1,000 people.
And the supplies on the truck are going to be books and food and bikes?
Yes.
But they would all get ruined in the rain, right?
Yes. that some students come already. So
Students came in this rain?
yeah, because they are excited with their own supplies and uniforms and the party. The water come up to the knees of to the knees like this.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But PonHeary wasn't about to let this torrential rain deter her mission, so they loaded up the trucks with their supplies and braved flooded roads. It is quite an undertaking to hand out the supplies to each child and cook a meal for thousands of children and their parents. Of course, PonHeary and Lori can't accomplish this by themselves, and that's where their team of volunteers becomes so valuable, like honeymooners Tammy and Hank.
And yesterday I got to serve the children a big, huge lunch, just bowls and bowls and bowls of noodles. I know they didn't understand anything, but I just kept talking because I wanted them to know that they were safe, there was somebody safe, somebody who's going to give to them. And slowly, slowly their faces became, instead of scared, they became just really happy. And they were just shoving bowls, bowls, bowls. They just wanted more. I was shocked at how much they ate, just shocked.
Also volunteering is 17-year-old Jasmine.
People say to me, you know, they're really proud of me, or they think that's such a great thing for me to do. But it's also for me too, in the sense that what I give to these people, I get back in the sense of reward and the sense of like feeling that I can make a difference.
Also today, the PonHeary Foundation will be distributing hundreds of bicycles.
The bicycle is huge. The first thing it does is it's a big, big incentive for them to finish the 6th grade. They want the bicycle, so they'll finish to get it. And they're going to go to their families with a bicycle. It's like if you or I went home with a car, you know, and to the family, that's very useful.
There was a young boy, he said, let's go dance, and he just started pulling me, and I said, oh, well, I think this is for the kids. I didn't know I was supposed to go. Oh, he said, no, 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 and he just pulled me out there, and that's how that all started. And then a couple of little girls came, and they were showing me how to wiggle my booty and do little shimmy shakes and things.
Both of them orphans.
And for 2 special children, there is one more reward.
These are the ones who are graduating 1st and 2nd in class. So they're the top students in the 6th grade with the best scores, and we give them cash. They're going to go home today with about the same amount of money that their father's going to make this month. And it's a small amount of money, but to the family that's a huge, huge thing. So it sort of reinforces the idea to the family that going to school is a good thing.
The hope for every child, sponsored through the PonHeary Foundation, is that through their education, they will become the essential backbone toward rebuilding this country.
They have six children, and their children, some of them they go to school, some of them very young, they cannot go to school, and they're very poor. She doesn't have a good education. At that time, it was the war, and then she went to the 1st grade, but never got any knowledge because of the war.
What would she like to say to the PonHeary Foundation for helping the children go to school?
She's very happy to have us to come and help, and she really wants her children to go to school, have a good education. Even she's poor, but she always struggles to send the kids to school.
And none of this would have been possible without the dedication of one woman, PonHeary Lee, whose mission is to fight poverty with the most powerful weapon.
Me, I do different. I want to kill the poor people, but not with the gun, with the education. This is my weapon. Education. Kill the poor people. Get them eating better by themselves later when their kids work well, get a good job, and then no more poor. My father, he was a teacher. And luckily, he couldn't stay still until today to see what I do. But I hope his soul in the heaven can see me, watch me every day.
PonHeary's entire family, the surviving members of her family, all of their family before the Pol Pot regime were educators. Her aunts, her uncles, her father, all of them educators. They all lost their lives and left all the children in their family and their mother alone to try to survive. The way that they have fought back the tragedy of that and healed the wound of that is to turn around and bring education back to the very people who killed their family. And I find that so incredibly inspiring. And in the whole big world, it's the answer. It's the answer. If somebody kills your father, go fix whatever it was that caused that to happen. Don't kill their father. Don't kill them. Fix the problem. I feel honored to be inside that and to be working inside that to fix it. We don't need to punish the ones who did what they did. We need to solve the problem that caused them to do that thing.
And that's universal. That's
It's
beyond
universal. You can
Cambodia.
take that everywhere in the world, you know, everywhere in the world. The problems that are going on everywhere could be addressed in that way with more compassion. And that's the part that makes it all work, makes it work.
Thanks, PonHeary and Lori, and all the wonderful volunteers. And Kimberly, as I toss this back to you, I can say I will remember this area, of course, for the temples, and all the wonderful people.
Thank you, Randall. And thanks to Lori, PonHeary, and their team of volunteers bringing that light of education to Cambodia. For more information about this organization and to see some extended interviews, log on to our website, goodtube.org. For all of us at Profiles in Caring, I'm Kimberly Perkins. Thanks for watching, and thanks for caring.